Looks like we are live. So, welcome back. Decided to do something a little bit different. I was doing this whole Facebook Live type deal and everything. So, what I am going to do is start trying to have YouTube lives so that everything is on YouTube. I don't have to worry about, trying to take it off of Facebook and put it on YouTube and that whole rigmarole. So from now on, Wednesday, 7 o'clock, everything is going to be on YouTube Live here on the Cultured Revolution Studios page. So come here, watch it, share it, like it, whatever you want to do. This is where it's going to be. Uh, yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Gotta fix my mic a little bit. All right, so first things we're going to get into, there's a couple of things. First thing that I've started looking at was the fact that there's people that war between each other. Like people who aren't real gamers, people who aren't really, how do you say, into video games, I guess you can call it. I don't really know. But a lot of this stuff, I'm gonna have like random pauses trying to figure out what I want to say, stuff like that. This is about as real of a podcast as it could be. I'm not doing all this extra editing. I want you to see what's real coming, straight off the dome. Whatever is said. Whatever is done. Like the podcast says, whatever happens, whatever is said. At the end of the day, you'll be all right. So back to the first topic at hand. I don't like doing all of these, just staying on one topic type deal. It gets boring real quick. Talk about a couple of different things. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the war between PlayStation players and Xbox players. I see it all the time, back and forth bickering type deal, trying to figure out which one is the best system to play on. There really is no best system to play on because I know a couple of gamers, like hardcore gamers, who play Switch all the time. That's all they play is Switch. I know a couple of other ones, like all they play is PlayStation, all they play is PC, or all they play is Xbox. Like there's no real defining thing between Xbox, PlayStation, PC, Switch. Hell, if you still play a Sega Genesis, power to you, bro. Because if I could find one, I'd play one, but I can't. But there's this whole back and forth thing that I'm not entirely sure why that is. Like, if you look at the specs, just solely specs off of the processing speed, the resolution quality, the the different types of processors that are equipped within the systems themselves, not just everything technical, all factual stuff. Like if you look at it, there's really no difference between an Xbox and a PS PlayStation. Sorry, like I'm not entirely understanding exactly what is the sole issue between what's better, Xbox or PS, 5, 4, whatever you got. Me personally, I'm an Xbox guy. I love Xbox. That's all I've ever played. I grew up a PlayStation fan, but when I first started buying my own consoles, I was buying Xbox. So with buying Xbox, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with how the game feels, how the storyline is created. Uh Not so much the graphics because I always played on a relatively shitty computer, well, not computer, a relatively shitty TV. And again, until I started buying my own TVs and stuff like that. But that's no here nor there. Like what I do and how I see things is different from how other people see things. You feel me? So as a gamer, as a true gamer, playing multiple different games, anything ranging from Forza to Call of Duty to Kingdom Hearts, Tomb Raider, like all of these different games, like I'm playing them and I'm playing them on different systems. I play on PC, I play on Xbox, I have played on PlayStation. I don't currently play because I don't own a PlayStation right now, but I've played on PlayStation. It, it's all fun. Like it's as a gamer, it's not about like which one is better. It's about enjoying the game. It's about enjoying the time. If you play with friends, you're mic'd up, you're playing, Warzone, and you're going through and you're taking out guys, you're playing against other teams, they're mic'd up, you're mic'd up, everyone's having fun. Like, the fact that you guys want to sit up here and, one, you're not a true gamer if you don't understand that there really is no difference between the two. And two, the fact that you want to cause strife between actual gamers just for the fucking fun of it. Like, you're the problem with the gaming community right now. Like, I just want to put that out there. That's my personal preference. I feel that people who are non-gamers who keep making this quote unquote war between PlayStation players and Xbox players is just, you're the fucking problem. You're the reason why there's a war in the first place. Because I've never heard before, like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, that there was a war between Xbox players and PlayStation players. Like, there wasn't all of this back and forth. Which one is better? This one's, got all of this. This one's got all of this. Yes, there are exclusive games for each system, of course, because there's exclusive, you know, differences between the two. Microsoft has their own thing, Sony has their own thing. No one is like cross compatible because they're two separate companies. They're building two separate systems. They're building multiple different technological equipment based items that are different because their minds are different. That's basically what it boils down to. They're different. That's all it is to it. But that's here nor there, because at the end of the day, I still feel that the war between us all, it's not really between us. It's more like gamers against non-gamers. That's where the war really is. Uh, I'm a gamer. I like to game. I like to do, what I can when I can. Life is crazy. I don't always have the time or the that's basically what it is. I really don't have the time sometimes to jump on the game and, be on for 3, 4 hours at a time. So I have to make time or figure out a time where I can, sit down and actually relax and play the game. But it's also kind of weird because I be having to coordinate between my guys and their time and then manage that appropriately. And that gets on a whole nother level because you can never plan nothing with black people. I just want to put that out there. No matter what you do, you can be trying to plan a visit to go see the president on a personal invitation from the president, and black folks will still find a way to fuck up the coordination. Well, I was supposed to drop off Day Day and them at my mama house, but she went out of town unexpectedly because such and such happened, and I ain't got no babysitter. And bro, black people as a whole, me being a black person, get it together. I do it sometimes, but it's sometimes the shit is out of hand. I don't mind bashing myself. It is what it is. I've been through enough shit in my life. There's not much that you can do to me at this point where I'm just not like, whatever. It is what it is. That's just how the dice roll, whatever. But like I said, black people, we need to get it together. Like, we need to figure out how to coordinate on time. If it's text message, smoke signals, like a phone call, whatever. Figure that shit out. Like, y'all are annoying. All right, so rolling into this next topic, try to fit as much as I can into this. So I kind of want to get on this whole thing with uh what's this guy's name? Eli Apple. So this dude's a cornerback, in the NFL. His biggest problem has been like bashing other teams for some things I don't think is even within their control. But I feel as though he's doing this for clout. And that's just me. I don't see this being like some well off issue that he has or has always had with these different teams that he's been jumping down. Specifically, like what I've seen recently on Facebook was he jumped on the Kansas City coattail and was talking about how they basically fucked up. They basically just made so many mistakes that they're now eliminated from the playoffs and it's all their own fault. To an extent, yes. Mistakes is what kind of turns into the big overarching problem for most of these teams. However, it doesn't need to be said by you, specifically you, because if I remember correctly, then and even now, you're not that good of a cornerback, dude. As a football fan, there's multiple other cornerbacks who can do your job and then some. You're chill, bro. Like for real, chill. Like where do you get off like bashing people, organizations that one let you in and allowed you to be a part of their organization, didn't treat you wrong from what we can see from the public view, and then you go to this team and now that your team is making it and is getting pushed, you know, in front the camera and everything, what what's your angle, dude? Like that's my biggest thing. What's your angle? Like I don't get it. Is it just for clout? Is it for you to get publicity? Is it because your ass sits on the bench damn near the whole fucking season? Like what is it? Like you I know what it is. And this is mostly the problem with a lot of these quote unquote celebrities or superstars or fucking professional sports people, whatever. When you got a lot of fucking time on your hands, that's when you start making these really wild accusations. You start saying dumb shit, and your foot ends up in your fucking mouth at the end of the day. I don't you can't do that, dude. Like, I take that back. You can do that. You can do that by all means. Do that. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's gonna look like a fucking fool. Because you're out here and you're talking all of this shit for no reason. No one has done you anything. No one has provoked you to do this. You came up with this shit on your own. Like, what's your problem, bro? I feel as though if you got in the game and you actually made a couple of picks or a couple of blocks, made a couple of tackles, at least a couple of tackles, since you are a cornerback, maybe you could be justified, but you're not really justified. At least in my eyes, you aren't justified. I always thought you was a shit cornerback anyway. It is what it is, though. Let's see. Moving on to the next topic. All right, so this one is I know everyone's been talking about this, but this one kind of hit home for me because this one kind of fucked me up a little bit. So everyone has a Facebook page. We've all had Facebook page for at least 5+ years now. For me in particular, I've had mine for somewhere over 10 years. I don't know exactly the number, but somewhere over 10 years. High school, create a Facebook page. Everyone talks to you back forth. How you doing? What you doing? Back when Facebook had the poke feature, because that shit was a thing. I don't know how many people remember that shit. You can poke motherfuckers, and it was a whole poke war. Back and forth poking each other. That shit was annoying as fuck. Because some people would poke me, and I'm like, I don't fuck with you like that. Why the fuck are you poking me? But that is what it is. I ain't got nothing to do with that right now because Facebook has upgraded and is in a whole new time era, whatever. But specifically, what I wanted to talk about was like I talked about in my last podcast episode, episode one, we talked about time capsules. Basically, what Facebook has invented is, a time capsule. After 10 years, it looks back and it's like, oh, you made this post 10 years ago. You probably should take a look at this. You might want to share it, recollect what happened at this particular moment in time and figure out what was going on. So I've looked at some of these, posts from 10, 7 years ago, and I'm like, what was my problem back then? Like, was I not hugged enough as a kid? I know I was. I was a really loved kid. Like, shelters to a certain extent, but I was a loved kid. What was my problem? Why would I post some of the stuff that I post? And like, I'm reading it and I'm like, this is embarrassing. This shit is on my Facebook page from fucking 10 years ago? What the fuck? Oh my God. I look at it and I'm like, is there any way that I can like delete this shit and like forget it ever fucking happened? Trust me, I tried. The only way you can get to it is if you scroll all the way down on your page, get to that particular one and delete it. It's a long fucking process. If someone has a different way, please God let me know. I don't know. I'm a technical person, but when it comes to like Facebook and shit, I don't know other people's stuff. But yeah, a lot of people has been having these because I talked to a couple of my friends about it, and I was like, bro, these Facebook like time lapses is like killing me, man. Like it's taking me all the way back to like 2007 or like it was like 10 years ago, 2012. It's like my first or second year in college, and my life was like in a fucking whirlwind at that point. Like I didn't know what the hell was going on in my life. It was weird. So like I read them and then I talk to some of my friends about it, and they're like, yeah, like I don't know what the fuck was wrong with us back then. So I started thinking about it, like what happened between then and now? And the only thing that I can really think of, like from a mental standpoint, is we mature over time. So as we mature, what we see being, the Facebook post from the past alters how we feel about it. So if I'm here now, 2022, and I'm looking at a post from 2012 or beyond that, I am now disgusted at what I see because my maturity level has well surpassed where I was then. I've gone through shit, I've recovered from shit, I've gone through different streams of issues, or I've gone through different streams of friends and moments in life that has built up to the point where now what I'm doing doesn't coincide with what I was doing back then. So it doesn't make sense. It's embarrassing. It's something that we don't want to be seen. It's the past. The past is the past. Let it be back there. Stop looking back at it. But from a philosophical standpoint, so follow with me. From a philosophical standpoint, if you don't see change, if you don't look back in the past and see where you came from to versus where you are now, I mean, are you really like growing? Like, are you really? I guess that's a different thought. I guess you can say. Me personally, I look at it from the standpoint what I see in the past from Facebook specifically. What I see in the past, and it embarrassed me. It disgusts me. Now it disgusts me is because I've changed. And I feel like if you don't change, you become stagnant, and stagnant anything means death. So if you're not still changing, if you're still not moving and progressing and maturing, then you are dead. Believe I talked about that in the last episode, which is a reoccurring thing. Like the more you think about it, the more you figure out how your life is in relations to your past, your present, and what you expect it to be in your future. You want things to progress. You want things to change. You want more money. You want more authority. You want a higher position in your company or your what company employs you. You want to do better. If you don't, then you just waste away. You end up dying on your own. That's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess you can call it. I just try to look at it from a brighter perspective, and I also try to figure out, what that difference is and expound on that. Like if it's something for the greater or for the greater good, I guess that in a sense to me that is what we're all striving for. We all want to be the better person, and we all want to be in competition. It's like a natural thing. We want to be in competition, but the competition doesn't have to be with someone else. The competition can be with yourself. You just want to be a better version of yourself. Keep pushing forward, keep doing what you're doing, but you got to do it better and better and better as time progresses. You can't wake up, today, do something, and then wake up tomorrow and do the exact same thing over. Yeah, there's routine to things, but you can't do everything exactly the same. You can't have a fucking groundhog day every day. That's not how this works. If you do that, look, please let me know how that shit feels because I can't do the same thing every day. So moving on. Oh, so this wasn't on my list, but I wanted to talk about it. So I have been like deep, deep diving into like research and stuff into like this competition shooting stuff. Some of you have seen it like on my Facebook page or like my Instagram or whatever, but like I've really like been deep diving into this shit, looking into like rules, like matches around me, matches across the country, like if there's like this national competition, whatever. And like I'm looking into it and like I'm finding all of these different companies that sponsor teams to go and do, these competitions. There's like Terran Tactical, a couple of other different ones that I've been seeing. Terran Tactical being the provider of weapons for the John Wick movies, if you didn't know that. But I looked into it and it's relatively easy to get into it. However, you need your own weapons. Needing your own weapons, meaning you have to own and they have to be registered to you to use those weapons during the competition. That's my biggest issue right now. I don't own that many weapons and I want to do competition shooting. So, in looking into the whole competition shooting deal and everything, I actually wanted to get into it. So, in probably like the next couple of months or so, once I get like confident enough that I can, hang with at least, the beginners, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna go in solo, you know, go in, see what I could do, figure out, where I sit along the ladder of competition shooters. There's a beginners area, there's a, intermediate, expert, professional, all of that stuff. I'm not trying to get that high into it, at least not yet. Like I said, progression is everything. But I do want to get into it just to see how it feels, like something different, like a hobby. It's not really a hobby, it's more, well, yeah, it is a hobby in the literal sense of the word hobby. It's a hobby. So, yeah, guys are in the cars, video games, computer setup systems. Some guys are just into, like movies and stuff. I've piqued my interest into weapons and guns. Now, I still have my interest in, photography, videography, cinematography, stuff like that. Like I said, I'm still doing that. By all means, I'm still doing that. But this is just something that kind of takes the edge off. It's a little more relaxing than, standing behind a camera trying to get the perfect shot or, you know, looking at a computer screen trying to get that perfect color correction or like that perfect blending on a photo. Like it's something different. It's something that's quickly quickly adjustable, I guess you can say. I can determine how I win or lose a competition based off of literally like how I grip a pistol or how I send a round down the chamber of my 5.56 AR. Like that's a little bit more satisfying than the computer and photos and cinematography and stuff like that. What I do with videos and photos is time consuming. Like you have to sit here for hours and hours and hours, practice, take the photos, put them on the computer, edit them, export them, post them, see how people like them, get feedback, do the whole process again. At a competition for shooting or at the range, you don't even have to go to competition. You could just go to a range, load a mag, put the mag in, rack it, fire a couple of rounds, look at the target, repeat process. I could do that in 60 seconds. Fine tune it, get it to where I want it to be, tweak my optics or like change how my grip is real quick. Just something a little bit different. If you guys want me to talk more about it, like I'll have a specific podcast episode dedicated to, me going to range times or competitions and stuff like that. Because I do plan on going to these competitions. Like I deep dive and it's interesting and I'm gonna do it. It's just a matter of when I'm doing my first competition. So keep on the lookout for that. That's something you guys can check back in for later and see how the progress is going. I'll talk about that in another episode or something. So one thing that was kind of interesting to me was where did the laws of science fiction come from? Well, fiction in general, but the laws of science fiction in particular, where did those come from? Because if I remember correctly, it's science, but it's like fake science. Fiction is, in layman's terms, fake. So if there's science fiction and there's laws of science fiction, where do those laws come from? Uh, so it's kind of confusing. Mm. It's kind of confusing to me because if it's fake science, you can basically make up whatever laws, rules, covets you want. So is science fiction somewhat based in actual science? Or is it like 50-50 science fake? Or is it like 80-20, 70-30? I I didn't deep dive into this. So me talking about this is really just like off the top of my head. Like I just based off of what I see and what I know. And a lot of this came from watching the movies, like Harry Potter movies, or like watching Star Wars, stuff like that. Like trying to figure out exactly where where these laws came from. If someone knows, like please let me know. Put it in the comments, hit me up in the DMs afterwards, whatever. I don't care. I'm just curious at this point. So, like more specifically, we can deep dive into it a little bit more, but more specifically, like who says a vampire can only be out at night? Because Blade, we all know Blade. I love Blade. Marvel character. I'm into Marvel comics. Marvel is the best one yet. Marvel. Yeah, cool. Blade can go out during the day. So he has all of the attributes, strength wise, of a vampire, none of the weaknesses other than his thirst. Of course, every hero has some type of, underlying weakness. It is what it is. His just so happened to be the thirst. With that being said, for vampires, who says that vampires can only go out at night and they have to drink blood? Or they have to drink human blood. Because there's a couple of different instances where I've seen where they can drink like goat blood or something and still sustain, or it can be like a different type of animal blood, something like that. Where there's other instances where it has to be human blood. Where did that come from? Like, why is there two different ones? Why can't it be human blood in one and then goat blood in another one? Moreover, moving into another specific topic, magic. There's good magic or light magic, and then there's dark magic or bad magic. Okay. There's two different kinds. One, obviously, good magic is for the good of either the magic world or humanity. Dark magic is for the downfall. Obviously, good versus evil, light versus dark, the whole irrefutable, eternal conflict between, yin and yang, that whole deal. So, who determines who determines what is exactly good and bad? Like I'm trying to figure that out as well because there's some spells that are good that you can argue that these spells probably should be fucking expelled from whatever school you're in, however you're supposed to fucking learn them, books, whatever. There's books from like thousands of years that have all of these spells and shit in it with people who just been magically, conjuring up spells or whatever, or technically piecing together other spells to create new spells, whatever. I'm just trying to figure out exactly where does this shit come from? I'm I'm just curious. I don't know. Maybe I'm just babbling at this point. It ain't the liquor. I can tell you that much. I ain't had that much to drink for it to be the liquor having me babbling like this. It it's something that's been bugging me. It's something that I've always wanted to know about. However, with I don't have the patience to sit down and try and figure this shit out. Like it's interesting, but it's just something like a thought that pops up in my head, like watching Harry Potter. It's just like, I wonder how that shit came about. Hmm. Anyway, moving on to another one. Uh, so this one we could talk about for a good little bit. I wish I had like some interaction from some other people to try and help me out with this, but it is what it is. I'm not fully expecting for everyone to see what, talk about what it is that I'm talking about right now because I don't even know how many viewers I have or anything like that. Like I'm just talking at this point. But what I am looking at is on Facebook, Instagram, a couple other social media, outlets. I have been seeing people talk about red flags. Red flags being, something that triggers you to not trust someone, to not want to be with someone, be around someone, whatever. Red flags. What exactly is a red flag for you? Like, are there what is the stipulation for saying that something is a red flag for you? And I know it's subjective to every person. Each person has their own, whatever deals, not deals, but their own speculation or stipulations as to what exactly a red flag is for them. But sometimes, like reading some of these red flag posts on Facebook or Instagram, I'm like, is that a red flag for you or is that a red flag for them? Like some of these red flags, some of these posts about red flags, I'm curious and I'm detrimentally curious as to why your red flag sounds a lot like some of the shit that some of these people go through. And I don't necessarily think that it should be considered a red flag. However, I do feel that if it is a red flag, that it shouldn't be a red flag across the board. Every person's different, right? Everybody has their own background. Everyone has their own shit that they're going through. Why did this have to why does it have to be a red flag for you? Now, me being me, I thought about it from, the mental standpoint, trying to figure out, exactly what it is. I I saw it as projection. A lot of this seems to be projection. I'm looking at it from the sense that if you're calling this a red flag, what about you is making this a red flag for you? Not entirely sure. Me, I don't necessarily have red flags for people. I mean, I have triggers for myself that I try to stay away from or at least control when I'm talking to people or dealing with people, but I don't have red flags for other people. Now, I do have some things that's like a complete no go. I guess you can qualify that as a red flag, but no go to me means like, nah, hard stop. We got to cut this off right here, right now. A red flag means that you can see that motherfucker and continue going. People do that shit all the time. They see a fucking stop sign and they blow clean through it. That's how you get T-bone accidents. That's how you get, pedestrians getting popped 500 points if you're in GTA or whatever. I don't know. But think about it. Like from the standpoint of what constitutes a person's personality, a red flag. Is it really a red flag? Like is it that much of a negative attribute for you that you notice it and continue dealing with this person? Like that's the part I really don't understand. You see the negative attribute. Is it like the potential of a person? Like is it something that you see past the red flag that you're trying to get to? Uh, What I don't get it. Help me figure this shit out cuz I'm kind of lost at this point. Maybe I'm just confusing myself. Maybe I'm thinking way too deep for this because society nowadays, anything social media related, if it's not super simplistic, people aren't going to grasp onto it. And I think that's probably the issue that I'm having with the podcast right now because I play devil's advocate a lot. I may not play it on the podcast because I don't have that interaction back and forth, but I like to play devil's advocate a lot. Like, so let's talk about the negative side of this. Let's talk about, the opposite side of the spectrum that everyone wants to talk about. Let's see. Let's see. Actually, I'm gonna go over here to Facebook. I should have something up here that we could potentially talk about. If you are tuning in to this at this particular moment, uh please understand that I probably won't do this on Facebook anymore. Like I said at the beginning of this, just simply because it's a hell of a lot harder to try and get Facebook live videos off of Facebook and then put them on YouTube for you to see on YouTube. I'm just going to stream directly to YouTube and just let that be the podcast because one, it's simpler, and two, you get the raw, uncut side of me being on a mic for an hour just talking shit and drinking liquor because that's what I do. That's what the whole podcast is. I don't know. The one time that I'm actually looking for some shit to actually talk about it, I can't fucking find it. What the fuck? I don't see anything. Y'all, you know what? Facebook gets on my fucking nerves sometimes. All right. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Red flags. Is it your red flags? Is it their red flags? Is it society's red flags? Because let's not get it twisted. Society dictates a lot that that happens between interactions with other people, interactions with yourself, interactions with social media. Society dictates a lot. This pandemic dictates a lot as well. But red flags, right? So is it projection? Is it you see it but you ignore it? Is it you just don't really care? Is it potential that you're trying to get to? So you're just going to push it off to the side, not necessarily ignore it, but just push it off to the side so that you can get to the potential that you see. Like, what is it? And I can't even say that it's just a female thing because I see it on male side as well. Guys talking about, oh, this is a red flag. Oh, this is a red flag. I'm like, come on, bro. But is it you or is it her or him? I'm not I'm not speculating anything. All right. I'm just trying to say red flags probably shouldn't be red flags. Like in the sense of, being in a relationship or a friendship or a partnership, whatever you want to call it, there probably shouldn't be red flags. It should be go no go criteria. Just 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 think about it. Let's talk about that for a minute. A go no go criteria means that there's something that happens. There's a set criteria that if any of these things happen, nothing happens. It's a no go. We completely cut everything off. Communication goes, the event goes, everything shut down. Completely no go. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. If nothing on that list happens, it's a go. Everything goes off without a hitch. Or there's some complications. Nothing goes off without a hitch every single time. There could be complications. However, you continue on with the situation. You continue on with the event, the relationship, friendship, whatever you want to call it, partnership. I feel that there should be just go no go criteria. There shouldn't be a red flag because red flag calls for bigger issues down the line. It's the little things like, oh, let's take this little thing right here, a red flag, potentially you know a list item on the no go criteria list. This little thing right here, it's an issue, but I think we can deal with it later on. Let's just toss it out the window, see what happens. If you're at the top of a mountain and you take a good little chunk of snow and turn it into a ball and you toss it down the mountain, eventually it collects enough snow to where it becomes a really big snowball, and then it turns into a potential avalanche, and that avalanche turns into something like a wall of snow that takes out entire resorts. See where I'm going with this? It's a domino effect. Like it continues to grow and progressively get worse and worse and worse. So if you have a red flag and you ignore it, you're basically saying that one, it's okay for that thing to happen at that particular moment in time or in the future. And two, that if it is an issue, you really don't care. Look, I told everybody when I was going live, don't come for me. Back to my point. Red flag shouldn't be a thing. Period. Point blank. It shouldn't be an issue. If you have a red flag, turn that red flag into a no go criteria. If you have a red flag, you got one or two options. You can either just cut it all off or you can talk about it. That's what most people do. We try to figure out and see, okay, can we mitigate this to where it doesn't cause an issue later on down the road? Yes. All right, cool. Continuing on. You're not ignoring it, you're not pushing it off to the side, you're addressing it. If you're addressing it, it's no longer a red flag. It's still a part of that go no go criteria. If you can mitigate the no go to continue on, cool. It's still going in the right direction. If you can't, no, we can't mitigate this. We can't fix this. If such and such and such and such doesn't happen, fuck it. We just got to cut it all off. We got to sever the connection. Sever the fucking connection. Ain't no fucking red flags. It is what it is. Well, shit. I'm live. It is what it is. I'm here now. Hey, that's not a red flag. My podcast went off on 7 o'clock. It's ending at 8. Ain't no fucking red flag. Like I'm just talking about. Ain't no red flag. I've mitigated my shit. It's fixed. My podcast still goes off without a hitch. Wednesdays, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Pacific Standard Time. Now, for some people out there that don't really understand what Pacific is, Pacific, I'm gonna speak to you in your own language. Specific time, Specific Standard Time, 7 to 8 Pacific Standard Time. But I got about 15 minutes left. Ooh, I had eye boogers. Ain't that about a motherfucker? Why ain't nobody tell me I had eye boogers, man? Y'all a bad audience, bro. Look at me talking to my audience like I actually got an audience. I need help. Nah, but I'm good mentally, y'all. Y'all ain't gotta worry about me. This is actually a part of like a mental health thing that I wanted to do. Like I I kind of do this in a sense to where I I have like a thought process, but a lot of times my thought process isn't like streamlined. It's like all over the place. Like I have popcorn ideas that just pop the fuck up, and I'm like, ooh, I could talk about this. Ooh, I could talk about this. I kind of have to like reel myself back in to where I'm like in a line of like what the fuck I want to talk about because I'd be all over the fucking place. It still seems like I'm all over the place, like I'm talking out my ass half the time. But this is like a mental health like exercise for me. Like I'm not saying that everyone needs to jump online and start a podcast and go live and figure out what they want to talk about, yada 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 yada, whatever. I'm not saying everyone needs to do that. Some people are good, just sitting outside smoking a blunt. Some people are good with, going to a resort for a vacation. That's their mental health thing. My mental health thing, since I really don't have like all the time in the world to take off and just do what the fuck I want to do, or the money to do what the fuck I want to do, because I talked about that earlier. This is my outlet. This is my mental health exercise. This is what keeps me sane a lot of the time. Like this is a real vulnerable, transparent moment for me, but then at the same time, this is what helps me. I like screaming randomly. Shit, that helps too. I sometimes do that too. I have this thing with my wife where when I come in a room and I feels like she's not really paying attention to me, I roar at her like a no, no, like Reptar. See? Like Reptar, just walk in and just rah. It's the shit I do. It's funny as fuck. Sometimes she like acts scared, sometimes she roars back at me. It's like, okay, everything's cool, nothing's really going on. I can kind of gauge like, exactly what happens, but that's just, what we do. It's fun. It keeps you on a one track mind, and not in a sense like you just want to go from point A to point B, but it keeps you on a path. It doesn't let you stray off too far one way, left or right, whatever. It it enables you to the point where you can do something random and it still fit the path of you staying sane or you staying mentally capable to do what it is that you want to do in your life. And like I said, bringing everything back, this is mine. The podcast is mine. I sit here for an hour and I drink Jack and Coke and I find shit to talk about that I may or may not always have the chance to talk about with someone. So I do it here. Sometimes my thoughts is what other people are thinking, but because it came out of my mouth, they now have an outlet. They can listen to it and it's like, oh, oh, yeah. See, I tend to do that a lot. Like I'm talking to friends or I'm talking to family members and everyone's thinking it, but it just comes out of my mouth because sometimes I just say shit. And I wish I could recreate some of the stuff, but it's like I can't. It's like an in the moment type deal. Like if I can walk around on live all day, every day, so you can hear some of the dumb shit that I say, I would to a certain extent. However, that's not possible. So I get on here for an hour. I find things that I felt like I probably said some dumb shit, and then I come here and then I expound on it, or at least try to recreate the situation in which I was talking about in the first place. I don't know, but I've talked about a lot in this one. I don't shit. Uh, I need to bring that back. I shit. I talked about a lot, a lot. Excuse me. All right, so I guess we can kind of start the recap since I only got 7 minutes left on this live right now. I keep myself to an hour, and I like to keep myself to an hour just for the simple fact that I don't want to be on here all goddamn night. I like I said, I'm human just like everyone else. I got other shit that I got to do. I got other things that I need to talk about. I can't be on, YouTube live all goddamn night. Yes, it's recap time. All right, so first thing we talked about was the war between PlayStation players and Xbox players. I'm an Xbox player. I slowly started creeping into the whole PC gaming world. That was fun for a little bit, but I use my PC for a lot of different things and gaming cannot be one of them. Like the amount of time that it takes for me to switch this motherfucker over to the gaming mode versus my creator mode or, just my work mode, it's too fucking much. It's too much. It's been a good little grip on this setup too. And yeah, it was more so for creating things, photos, videos, stuff like that. That's what I bought this computer for. And that's my sole purpose for it. Gaming is just a backup thing. It just so happens that I have a gaming mode. But like I said, gotta stop rambling. Back to the topic. I'm an Xbox player. The reason there's a war between PlayStation players and Xbox players is simply because non-gamers don't understand how to be a gamer. Hi, how are you? I appreciate the comment. Non-gamers aren't gamers. They make things so much more difficult for us for no goddamn reason. And me personally, I don't fucking appreciate it. Non-gamers, I need you to stop jumping in lobbies talking shit or on Facebook talking shit about the difference between PlayStation and Xbox. That is not how this goes. Technically speaking, yes, they are different because they have exclusive games for them, but specifically just the equipment, the processor, the resolution, the refresh speed, all of that stuff, technical specifications of the Xbox and PlayStation, there's little to no difference. So stop the war. It's stupid. It's fucking stupid. If you're a real gamer, you game on everything you can get your hands on. PS5, Xbox X, S, whatever. PCs, Switch, whatever you game on, that's what you game on. You're a gamer. Stop downing other people because you don't have what they have, or your hands are too small to fit the controller. By the way, that was a non-gamers comment. I just want to say that Switch Lite. I forget that there's a Switch Lite. I couple all of that shit together. Switch. All right. Next one. Eli Apple. You sorry cornerback. You sorry sack of shit. That's a fucking sad excuse of a cornerback. Yes, I said it. Don't nobody like you. You keep switching teams because you don't fucking produce. Stop talking shit about other teams. Stop talking bad about teams that let you go because you wasn't fucking producing. Point blank period. That's all I really gotta say about that, because I could talk about that shit all fucking night too. Facebook memories, the ignorant shit that we used to post 10, 12 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Yeah, them shits will make you humble in a heartbeat. Just saying. Them shits make me embarrassed and disgusted at myself that I used to put that shit on social media for other people to see. It, it's horrible. Again, if someone knows how to get rid of them without completely scrolling all the way down your fucking Facebook profile page to like fucking 10, 15 years ago, please let me know so I can get rid of these fucking things popping up every goddamn day. They're annoying as shit. And they make me feel bad about myself. That's the worst part about it. Like, I feel bad that I was that fucking immature at one point in time. We talked about the laws of science fiction. Like, who created these motherfuckers? Like, who says that a vampire can't go outside in the daytime? Because there's Blade, he goes out in the daytime, but he's half human, half vampire. And then there's the Twilight series where these motherfuckers just do whatever the fuck they want. And they're somewhat friends with werewolves, when I particularly remember Underworld, where they were at war, literally trying to kill each other on sight. Just saying. Who created these science fiction laws? Who came up with these rules that you have to follow when writing or creating a world that is fake? And then last but not least, the red flags. Red flags shouldn't be a thing. You shouldn't ignore what red flags are. You should meet them head on, and it should be more of a go no go criteria. It should be, you see something, you address it. If you can push on, if you can mitigate it, keep pushing on. Okay, it's a go criteria. If you can't, sever the connection. It's a no go. Move on with your life. That's basically how that shit goes. If red flag shouldn't be a thing, all right. I feel like red flags are a projection from the person who's saying that the shit's a red flag. That's my own personal opinion. Fight me if you fucking want. If you really don't want to fight me, just talk shit in the comments. Your comments will help me regardless. That means you came and you watched the video. You ain't gotta like it. I would like it if you liked it. Like it, if you want, whatever. Subscribe, all of that good stuff. But red flags, not really a fucking thing. No, stop it. It's bullshit. All right, so my last minute of the podcast, and I'm gonna close it out with what I normally close it out with. So again, Wednesday, 7 o'clock Pacific, or if you're one of those illiterate motherfuckers, Pacific Standard Time. Every Wednesday, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. That's when this podcast is gonna be. It's more so Wednesdays because it's the middle of the week. You've made it this far, and perfectly honest with you, you'll be all right. You can make it the extra, 2 days to make it to the weekend. Behind me, again, I have my prints. Left and right side, one is here, one is here. If you like them and you want to purchase one, let me know. They're $20 a pop. If not, still like, share, subscribe, do what you want to do. The ones that's underneath my TV are not for sale. Do not ask me for them. Lastly, I do have a movie on this particular channel. Go out, check it out, hit like, hit subscribe, do all of that good stuff. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been an hour. My Instagram handle is classic_Costello. If you want to go check out, my personal stuff. If I like you, I'll accept you. If not, fuck off. This is gonna be up here. Like I said, I'm doing this on YouTube Live now so that it stays on YouTube and I don't have to do this whole transfer from Facebook to YouTube. I've said this 3 times now, so if you don't know, fucking ask somebody or just rewatch the goddamn episode. I don't know what to tell you at this point. Yeah, so it's been fun. I've had a good time. My mental stability is still good right now. Yeah. It's Wednesday. 2 more days to the weekend. You'll be all right. This has been your boy Chris. I love you all. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.